Hello, hello. Welcome to the Malvern Music Podcast, run by Malvern Music students for Malvern Music students and any others interested in the band and vocals programs here at Malvern Collegiate Institute. With this podcast, we're hoping to provide some informational resources for new and prospective music students by having some former and current members of the department share their experiences, opinions, and overall feelings of what it's like to be in a band or choir at Malvern. We hope that by listening, you'll be able to learn and appreciate not just how wonderful and amazing and incredibly talented all our students and faculty and alumni are, but also the benefits of taking an extracurricular in the arts and why it's so important to be involved and contribute to the school culture. Oh, and also it's just really fun. Now, without further ado, please sit back, relax, and enjoy listening to us kids babble about what life's really like in rooms 302 and 312. Hope you have yourself a nice day, and onward, Malvern. So, welcome back to the Malvern Music Podcast. I believe this will be episode 5 if everything goes well. I very highly anticipated episode, at least for me. I'm honestly still kind of nervous. I'm getting like flashbacks to like when I was a grade 9 and like going to like the band office to sort of like find sheet music and knocking on the door with like a bunch of these kids. I'm like, is Miss Norris or Mr. Falla here? Getting really, really scared. But now we're Zoom meeting because times are weird. And they're on this podcast, so please introduce yourself. Hi, guys.
Hi, Miguel.
I'm Norris.
Laura Norris.
Laura Norris.
Seeing
So what do you guys do? What do you teach? Obviously, I know this stuff. How old you are, if you're comfortable mentioning that. And how long have you been in Malvern?
Woo!
Mm-hmm.
So the loaded question, lots of stuff.
The loaded question.
I'll go first. So ladies first, I guess.
No, you go.
Okay.
So
I've been in Malvern for 10 years approximately, and I mostly teach band. In fact, I have only taught band since I've been there, and that's grade 9 through 12, and it's been great. I also run extracurricular ensembles such as marching band, concert band, drumline, jazz band, jazz combo / brass band.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of activities.
All the band activities. There you go.
Yeah.
And how old are you, Mr. Falla?
This summer, this July 24th to be specific, if you want to wish me happy birthday on that specific day.
Let me write that down.
I'll be turning 46.
46.
Woo!
Which is older than I'm probably 10 years older than you think I am.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Maybe
young
20,
looking.
25.
I totally thought you were 36.
There you go.
Don't look a day over 28, 29 even.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I have been at Malvern. This is my 18th year at Malvern.
Wow, look at you. It's such a trooper.
Yeah. I like to think about that I've been walking up those same stairs every day for 18 years.
And they still haven't installed a gosh darn elevator.
Using the same key to open the same door and look out the same window to have the same view. But yeah, when I came there, I started teaching vocal, which was the first vocal class I had ever taught. Before that, I taught guitar, strangely, history, travel and tourism.
Mm-hmm. Anything you can get as a new teacher, I'm assuming.
Exactly. And at Malvern, I've had also grade 10 history, lots of vocal, and lots of apps and challenge and change. And I think that's it. Oh, one time I did civics.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I think 2006 or something, a long time ago.
I feel like civics and careers is just like the one course no student wants to take and the one course no teacher wants to take.
Yeah.
Maybe that's careers. I don't know. I don't want to speak for
I'm
you.
also 46.
46. Wow.
I started,
Congrats, guys.
started at Malvern when I was 29.
You've been going strong. Do you get anything for like 20 years strong or
Oh no.
any anniversary? No?
I don't think so.
Not even a pat on the back? Jeez. Tough
Nope.
crowd.
I don't even know if anybody knows other than the people on this podcast. Now everyone will know.
But yeah, what's sort of been like the journey to get to Malvern for the both of you in terms of education, just how you got into music?
So growing up for me, my grandfather was the director of a military band, And my dad and my uncles were all involved in that military band. My aunt was involved in an activity called drum corps, which I was also involved in later in life. So I had lots of exposure to music, band music specifically, and through that, it became a love and a passion of mine. And as a high school student, I basically had to choose between sports or band. I wanted to play football, but in order to do that, I would have to stop band, and I decided to play in the band instead.
Is that right?
So I continued with that, and then I eventually played in drum corps throughout those years as well. With drum corps, is basically a marching band like activity without the woodwinds, and I traveled and competed in that organization for 10 years, and then I continued to be an instructor with the groups that I was with. I also played in the Hamilton All-Star Jazz Band for a while, 5 or 6 years, and did European tours with them, and that was a lot of fun. And that led me to college at Mohawk College in Hamilton, where I studied music. And then from there, I went to University of Toronto and studied in the jazz program there. And then I went to the Teachers College after that, and then I became a teacher. And I got a job pretty much right out of school. I got an interview in the summer of the year I graduated, which led me to a job at a school called C.W. Jeffries, where I taught for 4 years or 5 years. And then during my 5th year, the job came open at Malvern, and Mr. Mighton, who was a teacher and mentor before I came to Malvern, he suggested I apply for the job, and lo and behold, I got it, and here I am today, still at Malvern.
Now, Ms. Norris, what about you? What's the journey been like?
Okay, well,
where do I start?
Falla started back in childhood. I will also, I guess, start back in childhood with, I would say my main musical influences were probably my family doing lots of music. Started piano lessons at 7 years old. I had a grandfather who could play amazing piano, totally by ear, and drove around in World War II with a piano on the back of his truck.
Oh, wow.
And he would entertain all the he would do shows. So he would like produce kind of shows for all the soldiers. That wasn't his main job. He was a truck driver, but this is part of what he did, and he would play all the music and everything and do the entertainment. So there was a lot of, anytime all the relatives would come over from Wales, it would be all these singing men in harmony. And I also went to church, which I think is a journey of a lot of musicians, doing a lot of music at church and being one of the kind of, people with maybe the best ear, the best reading skills. You have to do a lot of alto and tenor parts, and you're asked to do a lot of solos, and you're asked to be in a lot of choirs. I was also a music leader at the Presbyterian Young People's Society.
Wow. You still keep that on your LinkedIn profile, or?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And played guitar and did all the Christian songs at all the weekends and conferences and stuff. And then did some music theater and stuff in high school, and then also played a lot of saxophone in high school all through grade 13 in the jazz band and everything. And then went to university for music therapy and did a voice degree during that. That was my major.
What's a voice degree?
So it's like opera, like classical.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a classical voice degree.
Like a subcategory of just like general like music and like vocals.
Yeah, it was just vocal, just classical. Like it wasn't pop, it wasn't jazz like Mr. Falla. I just sing in like German, French, Italian, and everything all the time.
Oh, okay.
And do the fancy juries and performances. Mm-hmm. And then I worked as a music therapist for 5 years after I graduated, and then I quit that and got into Teachers College, and then went to Teachers College. Whew, almost there. Then I taught for a while, then I worked at Monarch Park, and then I got to Malvern.
Wow. There you go.
My life in a nutshell.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Mr. Follow, for somebody that doesn't have their entire autobiography written already. It's you had your own there. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was
Nice.
good.
I failed to mention that I play trumpet.
You play trumpet, yeah.
That's why I make.
Well, I feel like
Oh
that's
yeah.
just like a world-known fact. Like, who doesn't know Mr. Fall
Well,
plays trumpet? But it's okay. So yeah, it sounds like for your families specifically, for the both of you, it's sort of been like, an undergoing theme that runs in the background. Did that drive you at all to pursue music? Like, did you feel like a pressure to be like, sort of like keep that tied to like your career, or just like even as a hobby? Like, when did the idea of teaching come to fruition for the two of you?
so for me, I don't think there was pressure necessarily for me to play music, but I was definitely influenced because I was around it so much. But I didn't feel any pressure that I had to go into music. But there might have been pressure to feel that that music was important and it should be something that you pursue, not pursue in life, but that you should always have around. Whether it's playing an instrument or being appreciative of music that you're listening to. I think that was driven home, but not necessarily a performance. You didn't have to play an instrument specifically. And there was no pressure going in education. I didn't have to pursue education or I didn't have to pursue music as a career choice. That's for sure. As far as education goes, I didn't really decide to become an educator until probably the end of my second year at university, where I was studying jazz. And I just kind of, I was looking at the people around me and how they were progressing and comparing myself to them and being maybe a little bit of a harsher critic than I probably should have been at the time.
Sounds like the sin of every artist in general.
Yeah, and also realizing that I didn't really have the drive and determination that is needed to become a professional musician. And so I decided to look at my options, and teaching was one of them. And so I actually volunteer taught at Malvern in my third year university with Mr. Martin, and that's how we began to know each other. And through that experience, it helped me believe that teaching was something I wanted to do, and the rest is history.
So before your second year of university was performance, I guess, or like the idea of performing as a career, like in the back of your mind up until that point?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wanted to be a professional trumpet player.
Yeah, you do have some very crazy performance stories. That one time, you passed out on stage, I believe. That's always my favorite. The one that you bring up.
That was my fourth year jury at university,
Fourth year.
at U of T, and I was playing this piece by Louis Armstrong. And at the end of it, it has like this trumpet intro. And at the end of the trumpet intro, it goes up to this high E on trumpet. And I had to hold it for a really long time before the band came in. And I got really lightheaded. And
a really long time, yeah.
Almost passed out. My trumpet bell saved me from falling completely over.
But it did look really cool, right?
It
Like
did.
from the stage?
Yeah. Yeah, it was almost like a James Brown moment.
Wow. That's it's quite the adventure, Miss Norris. What about you?
Well, yeah, so for me, I was surrounded by a lot of music and also a lot of psychology. So my stepmother was and still is part-time a psychologist, and so I lived with somebody who worked out of the home, like she had her office in the home, so I would always see clients coming over, and my stepfather was a minister, and so he did a lot of therapy too, and he was trained in a lot of therapy, and psychology was something that always really interested me. And I actually that was actually my first kind of thing I expected I would do, some kind of therapy, speech therapy. But then I heard about music therapy, which could combine
Best of both worlds.
yeah, music and psychology. So I got very interested in that, and went and did a co-op position actually at the KMH, at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, in high school. So for a whole semester of grade 13 with the psychiatric population, and loved that. And so I did a lot of music, but the actual educator part kind of came when I started to not enjoy music therapy anymore, and thought, what else can I do? And that is a whole other podcast about why I didn't enjoy it anymore.
That's fair.
To that, but it just had to do with working in nursing homes, and it being very difficult every day to be in long-term care, and also owning my own business I didn't like. And then I remembered all of these great times I had in high school, and I thought, hey, I could actually do this. And I kind of did like a vision board without the board, just a vision. Something that I think would be the coolest thing to do. And I was like, do musicals with teenagers. that is something I want to do. And how would I do that? Oh, I'll just apply to one teacher's college. And then I got into that teacher's college to U of
Okay.
T. And that's kind of how it happened. But I also had no pressure ever from when us Generation X didn't really have much pressure from our parents. They didn't care that much about us, really. In my
Oh, geez.
experience,
It's getting a little too deep.
nobody I know was really pressured to go into anything.
Mhm.
Like parents didn't really do that.
Like they weren't that invested in their whatever
Yeah,
their kids ended
you
up
just
doing.
kind of figured it out yourself and just kind of went with the flow.
That's pretty healthy comparatively to the other people I've talked to and like
Yeah.
my university struggles. So it sounds like it was just how much it was weighing on your, I guess, like personal health and mental health of music therapy that you just wanted to switch up.
Yeah, and working with the geriatric population was really difficult with people with Alzheimer's and dementia, and I started feeling like, can I actually do this the rest of my life? And I thought, no, I don't think I can. And so yeah, when I asked myself that question, I thought I need growth instead of death. Basically, that sounds really, it sounds kind of dramatic.
Switch with the demographic that you were around, I guess. That's
people
fair.
that grow.
I mean, obviously the musicals with teenagers sounds great. I never got that, but just want to throw that out there. No resentment whatsoever.
I know.
It's okay though. Yeah. So it's.
Sorry, did you take vocal music and have to do a music theater unit?
I did in grade 11, but that was also when. Oh, what's alright?
That's not the same thing.
No.
Oh yeah.
That was also
the whole experience,
I know.
Mr. Falla.
And that was also last year when bad things happened.
Right. It's actually the irony of it was exactly right when music theater the unit was happening.
Yeah.
That we all went to
shut down. Yeah.
Oh, but it's okay. I think you enjoyed my performance.
I did. I remember it in your garage with the table and the candles.
I was dedicated. Yeah, I really wanted to do a musical in high school, but hopefully we'll see what university brings.
It's not too late.
It's not too late. It's never too late. But yeah, in general, what's sort of been the most I guess rewarding thing about teaching music and seeing being surrounded by students? I'm sure it must get to some degree like sad and upsetting when these grade 9s that come into the system, you get to meet them as obnoxious as they are in grade 9 and sort of filter their way out into grade 12 to pursue like new ventures and grow into their own. What's sort of been the rewarding aspect of that, Mr. Fall?
I think so. I think there's definitely obnoxious grade 9s out there, but I wouldn't label them as a whole obnoxious.
Just the band kids.
I have
not the band kids are obnoxious.
Pleasant grade 9 students. But as far as reward and the best moments within teaching music specifically, I think it's amazing, and I think this goes for teaching anything. Once you have students in front of you and you're working with them to understand a concept or understand how to play an instrument, that joy they get when they actually get something that they've been working on to some sort of degree of success. Experiencing that joy with them is something that I really enjoy. Or when you're playing in an ensemble and you're conducting an ensemble and that ensemble does a performance that is really strong and everybody's really great, feeling that you have that common goal achieved essentially. And so I think those are the proudest moments.
Yeah, you talked about the ensemble aspect. I'm sure there's how do you sort of, I guess, juggle like getting to know students from like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and sort of maintaining this also, for lack of a better term, authoritative personality when you're conducting an ensemble in the band.
I think in the situation of being the conductor and when you're conducting and rehearsing, you have to maintain some sort of structure in the sense that you have to know when to control the rehearsal and talk. And I think you have to have a good balance to make that happen. And for those kids, the students that maybe are a little bit more rambunctious, you need to have that leeway. You can't it's super hard for someone to sit around for an hour and a half and work on something. So you have to be able to, push and pull and get the feel of the ensemble at the time to make sure it works well throughout the whole hour and a half, rather than, a focused 15-minute rehearsal and chaos for the rest of the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's one of the challenges I'm still learning, not just like in band, but like in my classes in general. But thank you for putting up with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ms. Norris, what about you?
So the most rewarding parts, right? We're talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Mr. Fella said. I think the relationships that you can build as a music teacher are probably the most rewarding parts, and even strange, like even with some of the families too. It's been fun to watch siblings, to get siblings, to know the parents through the whole time too, and you kind of have
Mhm.
such a different view. To me are the most rewarding part. um and I think that those come from the performances and come from working through difficult things and coming up with a product. I think the process is more important than the product to me.
Mhm.
And yeah, and also keeping in touch with some of the kids in other ways and just seeing what they're doing and seeing kids who
Of course, yeah.
to admit that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I have a picnic planned with a former student this summer if we
Oh, is
can.
that right?
So
Hmm.
like, little things like that. She's like 24 now or something.
Oh,
And
like okay.
yeah,
But I thought it was like a year older than me.
no, 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 like, the ones that you actually kind of keep in touch with through the years, and it's just so different than other
For
kinds of
sure.
teaching.
Mhm. Do you go to any picnics with the former students, Mr. Falla?
Not yet.
Not
Sometimes
yet. It's always
we
hopeful.
have like hung out sometimes and gone to see people do
Yeah.
shows and stuff.
Oh
Like
yeah,
former,
yeah. Hmm.
like that. It's so fun to do that,
Hmm.
to watch people who have bands or who have continued in music.
And even students, like we go on the show as well. They're students at Malvern, but they're doing a show with their band at some club downtown or whatever. We'll go see them. We like to
Yeah.
support this.
I mean, that sort of like leads into the next one. And I wrote a whole like paragraph, so just bear with me here. But I guess one of the biggest challenges that a lot of kids face, particularly in the arts, again, especially with social media and how readily available like all these talents and like prodigies are in general, just like really good musicians. I'm sure like there's this idea that, oh, I'm never going to meet like a certain level of standard or expectation that like they sort of like set in their mind to themselves. Obviously there's a bunch of like financial constraints that come with like just the burden of pursuing a music degree, and just like in general limitations with like arts degrees in general. Obviously there's still like this whole big stigmatization around them. What would be your advice to students in general interested in pursuing the field, but they aren't necessarily ready to push themselves to take that next step, because obviously there's some level of job security, one that's been brought up on this podcast before, and just the insecurity of being in music in post-secondary.
I think from my perspective, if you have a true passion for something, I think you should try to pursue it. And if that's performance based or so I'd pursue it as long as all the factors are in place, supportive parents and things like that are in place. Then pursue it. You can always change your mind later. Like life's too short to go into something you hate. So,
Wow, that's the next quote we're putting on the Malvern Music hoodie. Michael Follow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
I agree, and I would even kind of push that a little bit further and say that the only reason you should do music after high school is if you literally can't do anything else.
Mhm.
Like, because you can't, you only can do music. That's all you want to do.
Yeah.
I don't mean you physically can't. Like, you can
Just the challenges, yeah.
yeah, like if you're like, I can't see myself doing anything else, I am a musician, I have to do this, then you should do it. If you're in your question, you kind of alluded to waffling and not knowing if they should, then you probably shouldn't,
Hmm.
right? Like if you don't really want to, you probably shouldn't.
Like if it's not an immediate yes or no to like this
Yeah,
certain pathway.
exactly.
And I feel
Yeah,
like that's applicable for like a lot of things too in general, especially
yeah,
when you're deciding what you want to do after high school. Mhm.
yeah. And I think the people who do, when you really question them and you say, could you see yourself doing a criminology degree? No. Could you see yourself doing anything else? No. Okay, you have to go into music then. It's and I think that, and those people are rare, but those are the people who are going to make it because they
yeah.
can't do anything else because they aren't, that's who they are, right? That's just who you are. So you have to do it.
It's kind of a surreal feeling, especially if like you're really in love with
Yeah.
with drawing or writing or making music. To
Yeah.
just tell them that like hey, it's on the table at the end of the day if you just keep doing it.
I think
for a professional degree.
And some people will jump on that, and
Right.
some people won't.
I think for me, when I was going into college from high school, I was a little wishy-washy on what I wanted to do, and I at that point I did a lot of music and a lot of things extracurricularly in high school, and I thought to myself, well, what do I enjoy doing? And it was music, and I couldn't really, I didn't see myself going in any other direction, really. So
Yeah.
the other thing I do want to say about that is, for all those students that maybe don't pursue music as a career, there's still so many opportunities out there to participate musically in choir groups, community bands. And it's not all about performance either. There's lots of other opportunities outside of performance. Like
you spend 4 years of your life with anything, you sort of grow this attachment to it, especially coming up as a teenager, that I can't really see myself, like not picking up a guitar, not picking up a saxophone, or like singing with other people, like 5-10 years down the road, or like even for like the rest of my life, like to just like remove that, whole experience, especially my teenage years. It's something that'll stick with me forever.
Oh yeah. There's a choir that I've been in for a few years, and a lot of people who are in it are, most of them are adults, and a lot of them would be like you in 15 years or something, saying I did all of this and I had all of this and I miss it so much, I have to do something.
I want that musical.
I have to read music again, like just even the challenge of reading music and listening to other people around you singing and harmonizing and actually remembering all of the terminology, and it's like why did I do all of that if I'm not gonna? And you can do it in so many ways as an adult, which is great.
And these people in your choir they aren't necessarily like in like music careers like now.
They're not. They're like doctors, surgeons, lawyers, like whatever. Just who had this same experience as you, but went into other things, and then realize they need that to fulfill them. It's a part of them. They just need to keep going somehow.
Yeah.
I'll see you in my choir.
Yes, if you'll reach out to me in like another 10-20 years, I can finally get that follow. I think that's the one part of me wanting to be a Malvern alumni is just so I can get the follows. And
then we can have a picnic.
We can have a picnic, 5 years on. But yeah, I actually think I think we're pretty good for time. Sort of the last question I ask everybody that gets an interview on the podcast is, what's your favorite memory at Malvern Music? And for you guys, it's you've had it's been slim pickings for even like the grade 9 the grade 9s that we've interviewed, but in your decades plural almost, what would be your pick? Wow,
I think.
Made you think.
Do you have one, Laura?
I think so.
Doesn't look good about it. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say something, but then I also was like, ooh, trips.
Yeah, I have trips. That's all I'm thinking about is trips.
Like that's a lot of good trips. Mr. Falla can talk about the trips. I'll talk about the other thing. So I have burst into tears. I'll talk about the time I burst into tears. It was actually pretty recently, 2 years ago. The grade 11-12 vocal class created a
that's right,
a surprise song for me at the end of the spring concert, and they worked on it and they like arranged it and everything, and they performed it for me, and I just sat there, just burst into tears and just sat there sobbing, and that was so nice. That's just a memory that will definitely always stick with me, so I'm gonna go with that. But there have been a lot through the years.
Sounds like a high school like Netflix season finale.
It actually didn't really feel real at the time, and then the whole audience is watching, and I'm sobbing, and
and you look behind, there's like 200 people watching you. You're like, whoa!
My mascara is running.
Oh no!
Mr. Falla can go.
So yeah, I don't like Ms. Norris was saying, we've done some great trips, and unfortunately, Miguel, I'm sorry for you and all your classmates.
It's okay. If you ever need a chaperone,
you get the opportunity to do that. But I think it's pretty hard to pick. But memories that I have is when we were in New Orleans and we were walking down, we were walking in the French Quarter, and Laura and I were walking beside each other, and all the kids were kind of around us, and they were just in awe with their jaws dropped, looking at just the scenery and how vibrant it was and how kind of crazy it was. And then from there we went to Preservation Hall, where we got to see the Preservation Hall Jazz Band in this iconic venue that was hundreds of years old, and so many musicians have played there over the years. And I think that experience, I think was a lot of fun, and I think the kids really enjoyed it. The students really enjoyed it, and I think that was a fantastic moment.
Yeah, for the non-scholars out there for music history, why'd you pick New Orleans?
As stated previously, I'm a fan of jazz, and New Orleans is the birthplace of jazz. So that's one of the reasons. Yes, that's one of the reasons I picked that. I planned a trip.
Well, maybe in another universe. But
now that you're going to go, you can definitely go there on your own and have a good time.
That's true. Mm-hmm. All the places I can travel right after high school ends. So many opportunities. But yeah, I think that sort of like wraps it up. I just want to say, heartfelt thanks on my behalf, not just for past 4 years, not to get all sobby, but I think just like teaching music or teaching any art in general, especially like during these times, is really like the value can never be like overstated. It's sort of what's kept me like sane, for lack of a better term. Sort of like being indoors all the time. Just something like to lean on, like every rehearsal, I guess, like after school. Thankfully not early in the morning, but something to come to after school, and just like see people again. Even if we don't turn our cameras on, it just means a lot being there, and being in the presence of music and being in the presence of you guys. And yeah, I just want to put that out there on behalf of everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Miguel.
But thank you. I usually ask people at the end of these, like, if they want to shout out any social media, but I guess that's a little inappropriate.
No thanks.
No,
the next podcast, they'll talk about who's our most memorable student, and we'll say Miguel.
Oh, yes.
I'll be like, 10 years from now, and I'm 56.
Like,
I remember this
when you're on the verge of 72.
God, what is his name? Oh yeah, Miguel.
You only had a podcast with him, like that one.
I won't remember his name. I'll just say, the guy who played tenor sax.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Talked a little too much in band, Could have played quietly to blend in with the ensemble, but it's okay.
Crazy here during the pandemic, I'll tell you that much.
Fair enough.
Great.
Yeah.
A big thank you to everybody for listening. If you like this podcast, please give us a follow on our Instagram at MCI Music, as well as our YouTube channel and Spotify account. Keep on marching to your own beat, and onward, Malvern.